Hello, wildlings. I'm your Creep Smith, and you found my Fear Forge. Lucky you.
Tonight's story, the first part of The Boogeyman by His Horror Highness Stephen King. I came to you because I wanted to tell my story, the man on Dr. Harper's couch was saying. This man was Lester Billings from Waterbury, Connecticut. According to the history taken by Nurse Vickers, he was 28, employed by an industrial firm in New York, divorced, and the father of 3 children, all deceased. I can't go to a priest because I'm not a Catholic. I can't go to a lawyer because I haven't done anything to consult a lawyer about, and all I did was kill my kids, one at a time. Killed them all. Dr. Harper turned on the tape recorder. Billings lay straight as a yardstick on the couch, not giving it an inch of himself. His feet protruded stiffly over the end. Picture of a man enduring necessary humiliation. His hands were folded corpse-like on his chest. His face was carefully set. He looked at the plain white composition ceiling as if seeing scenes and pictures played out there. "Do you mean you actually killed them, or—" "No," impatient flick of the hand. "But I was responsible. Denny in 1967, Cheryl in 71, and Andy this year. I want to tell you about it." Dr. Harper said nothing. He thought that Billings looked haggard and old. His hair was thinning, his complexion sallow, his eyes held all the miserable secrets of whiskey. "They were murdered, see, only no one believes that. If they would, things would be all right." "Why's that?" "Because—" Billings broke off and darted up on his elbows, staring across the room. "What's that?" he barked. His eyes had narrowed to black slots. "What's what?" "That door." "That's the closet," Dr. Harper said, "where I hang my coat and leave my overshoes." "Open it. I want to see." Dr. Harper got up wordlessly, crossed the room, and opened the closet. Inside, a tan raincoat hung on one of 4 or 5 hangers. Beneath that was a pair of shiny galoshes. The New York Times had been carefully tucked into one of them. "All right," Dr. Harper said. "Yeah, all right." Billings moved the props of his elbows and returned to his previous position. "Now, you were saying," Dr. Harper said as he went back to his chair, "that if the murder of your 3 children could be proved, all your troubles would be over. Why's that?" "I'd go to jail," Billings said immediately. "For life. And you can see into all the rooms in a jail. All the rooms." He smiled at nothing. "How were your children murdered?" "Don't try to jerk it out of me." Billings twitched around and stared balefully at Harper. "I'll tell you, don't worry. I'm not one of your freaks strutting around and pretending to be Napoleon or explaining that I got hooked on heroin because my mother didn't love me. I know you won't believe me. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I just wanted to tell you. That'll be enough." "All right." Dr. Harper got out his pipe. "I married Rita in 1965. I was 21. She was 18. She was pregnant. That was Denny." His lips twisted in a rubbery, frightening grin that was gone in a wink. "I had to leave college and get a job. But I didn't mind. I loved both of them. We were very happy. Rita got pregnant just a little while after Denny was born, and Cheryl came along in the December of 1966. Andy came in the summer of 1969. Denny was already dead by then. Andy was an accident. That's what Rita said. She said sometimes that that birth control stuff doesn't work. I think it was more than an accident. Children can tie a man down, you know. Women like that, especially when the man is brighter than they. Don't you find that's true? Dr. Harper grunted non-committally. Doesn't matter, though. I loved him anyway. He said it almost vengefully, as if he'd loved the child to spite his wife. Then who killed the children? Harper asked. The Boogeyman, Lester Billings answered immediately. The Boogeyman killed them all. Just came out of the closet and murdered them. He twisted around and grinned. Yeah, you think I'm crazy, all right. It's written all over you. But I don't care. All I want to do is tell you, and that got lost. I'm listening, Dr. Harper said. It started when Denny was almost 2. Cheryl was just an infant. He started crying when Rita would put him to bed. We had a 2-bedroom place, see. Cheryl slept in a crib in our room, and at first I thought he was crying because he didn't have a bottle to take to bed anymore. Rita said, don't make an issue of it. Let him go. Let him have it, and he'll drop it on his own. But that's the way kids start off bad. You get permissive with them, spoil them. Then they break your heart. Get some girl knocked up, you know, start shooting dope. Or they get to be sissies. Can you imagine waking up some morning and finding your son, is a sissy? Well, after a while, though, when he didn't stop, I started putting him to bed myself, and if he didn't stop crying, I'd give him a whack. Then Rita said that he was saying light over and over again. Well, I didn't know. The kid's that little, how can you tell what they're saying? Only a mother can tell. Rita wanted to put in a nightlight. One of those wall plug things with Mickey Mouse or Huckleberry Hound or something on it. I wouldn't let her. If a kid doesn't get over being afraid of the dark when he's little, he never gets over it. Anyway, he died the summer after Cheryl was born. I put him to bed that night, and he started to cry right off. I heard what he was saying that time. He pointed right at that closet when he said it. Boogeyman, the kid says. Boogeyman, Daddy. I turned off the light and went into our room and asked Rita why she wanted to teach the kid a word like that. I was tempted to slap her around a little, but I didn't. She said she never taught him to say that, and I called her a goddamn liar. That was a bad summer for me, see. The only job I could get was loading Pepsi-Cola trucks in a warehouse, and I was tired all the time. Cheryl would wake up every night and cry, and Rita would pick her up and sniffle. I tell you, sometimes I felt like throwing them both out a window. Christ, kids drive you crazy sometimes. You could kill them. Well, kid woke me at 3 a.m, right on schedule. I went to the bedroom, only a quarter awake, and Rita asked me if I'd check on Denny. I told her to do it herself and went back to bed. I was almost asleep when she started to scream. I got up, ran in the room. Kid was dead on his back, just as white as flour, except for where the blood had sunk. Back of the legs, the head, the buttocks. His eyes were open. That was the worst, you know. Wide open eyes and glassy, like the eyes you'd see on a moose head some guy puts over his mantle, like pictures you see of those gook kids over in Nam. But an American kid shouldn't look like that. Dead on his back, wearing diapers and rubber pants because he'd been wetting himself again the last couple of weeks. It was awful. I loved that kid. Billings shook his head again slowly, then offered the rubbery, frightening grin again. Rita was screaming her head off. She tried to pick Denny up and rock him, but I wouldn't let her. The cops don't like you to touch any of the evidence. I know that. Did you know that it was the Boogeyman then? Harper asked quietly. Oh, no, not then, but I did see one thing. It didn't mean anything to me then, but my mind stored it away. What was that? The closet door was open. Not much, just a crack, but I knew that I'd left it shut, see. There's dry cleaning bags in there. A kid messes around with one of those, and bango, asphyxiation. You know that. Yes, but what happened then? Billings shrugged. We planted him. He looked morbidly at his hands, which had thrown dirt on 3 tiny coffins. Was there an inquest? Sure. Billings' eyes flashed with sardonic brilliance. Some backcountry fuckhead with a stethoscope and a black bag full of junior mints and a sheepskin from some cow college. Crib death, he called it. You ever hear such a pile of yellow manure? The kid was 3 years old. Crib death is most common during the first year, Harper said carefully. But that diagnosis has gone on death certificates for children up to age 5, for want of a better... Bullshit! Billings spat out violently. Harper relit his pipe. We moved Cheryl into Denny's old room a month after the funeral. Rita fought me tooth and nail, but I had the last word. It hurt me. Of course it did. Jesus, I loved having the kid in with us. But you can't get overprotective. You make a kid into a cripple that way. When I was a kid, my mom used to take me to the beach and then scream herself hoarse. Don't go out so far. Don't go in there. It's got an undertow. You only ate an hour ago. Don't go over your head. Even to watch out for sharks before God. So, what happens? I can't even go near the water now. It's the truth. I get cramps if I go near a beach. Rita got me to take her and the kids to Savin Rock once when Denny was alive. I got sick as a dog. I know. See, you can't overprotect your kids, and you can't coddle yourself either. Life goes on. Cheryl went right into Denny's crib. We sent the old mattress to the dump, though I didn't want my girl to get any germs. So a year goes by, and then one night, when I'm putting Cheryl into her crib, she starts to yowl and scream and cry. Boogeyman, Daddy! Boogeyman! Boogeyman! And that threw a jump into me. It was just like Denny. And I started to remember that closet door opened just a crack when we found him. I wanted to take her into our room for the night. Did you? No. Billings regarded his hands and his face twitched. How could I go to Rita and admit that I was wrong? I had to be strong for her. She's always been such a jellyfish. I mean, look how easy she went to bed with me when we weren't married. Harper said, on the other hand, look how easily you went to bed with her. Billings froze in the act of rearranging his hands and slowly turned his head to look at Harper. Are you trying to be a wise guy? No, indeed, Harper said. Then let me tell it my way, Billings snapped. I came here to get this off my chest, to tell my story. I'm not going to talk about my sex life, if that's what you're expecting. Rita and I had a very normal sex life, none of that dirty stuff. I know how it gives some people a charge to talk about that, but I'm not one of them. Okay? Harper said. Okay, Billings echoed with uneasy arrogance. He seemed to have lost the thread of his thought, though, and his eyes wandered uneasily to the closet door, which was now firmly shut. "Would you like that open?" Harper asked. "No," Billings said quickly. He gave a nervous little laugh. "What do I want to look at your overshoes for?" The boogeyman got hurt, too," Billings said. He brushed at his forehead as if sketching memories. "About a month later, but something happened right before that. I heard this noise in there one night, and then she started screaming. I mean, I opened the door real quick. The hall light was on, and she was sitting up in the crib, crying, and something moved back in the shadows by the closet. Something slithered." That's one of the things I've never really liked about psychologists and psychiatrists, is they're always insisting that you relive and re-experience all the stuff that made you crazy in the first place. Anyway, that's my problem, not yours. Thank you very much for listening, wildlings. Come back next time for part 2. Stay scary and make the most of your nights.